2.0 going live episode. And I'm just going to go over some of my favorite teachings from Spaceman, A View from Space. He was on 6:40 a.m. every Saturday night, and he gives us a lot of great teachings. Now, what do I have here? What did we miss yesterday, February 17th, 2026? Anyone notice the wonderful weather we had yesterday? Today, we are having a snowstorm here in Toronto, Richmond Hill, and it is coming down. Everyone got called off school before it even started because they were so sure of it. How are you so sure of it? Because the chemtrails make it happen. And we all know that's going on these days. And what was happening yesterday? No chemtrails, beautiful blue skies everywhere. Felt the sun on my face. It was beautiful. You feel the lightness in the air. And why is that? Because they don't chemtrail us on the days they want to do their eclipses, or at least observe them for their spiritual rituals that they do in their own fashion. So with that being said, look at this on February 17th, 2026. Okay, there is an annular eclipse, but you can only see it in basically South America, South Africa, and Antarctica. They're a famous place to like to keep us away from knowing all about its wonderful abilities. Now, why, if you look on a map, the bottom of the map is all white, but the top of the map, the North Pole, is just a small part. But they show the South Pole in this long, stretched out white part. That's for something for you guys to think about. So, yesterday was an annular eclipse. Now, having said that, solar eclipse. We're coming into, and it says there, across Antarctica. So they're very special, auspicious for the elites. But what's happening is a total lunar eclipse called a blood moon on March 3rd. Okay, I gave it away on why it's interestingly special this year, and we should look forward to it or understand that it has some significance in terms of what the elites may have in store for us. But if you check out what Purim was all about and the blood moon happening on March 3rd, 2026, it hasn't happened from 34 AD, March 23rd, from what the researchers have done. Thank you to them for doing that, bringing this to my attention, because what else is happening is Purim 2026, March 3rd. It's the first time that this happens with a blood moon since the time of Christ. So if that's not something to be aware of, then I don't know what is. So it's all about the celebration of Purim on March 3rd with the auspicious blood moon starting in 6:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it will begin at 3:44, but the main eclipse begins at 6:04 and will end at 6:52 a.m. So it's in the morning. It's not happening in the afternoon. It's not like in the same time when the skies turn dark and the moon turned blood red and the time they're crucifying Christ, but it is happening in the wee hours of the morning. So I'll let that be up to you, what that has in store for your understanding of the crypto market, the stock markets, and anything they can throw our way with spiritual confusion, so that we don't see that we are truly a divine light of God and really here to create a wonderful understanding of our own truth, of understanding God in wonderful expressions of it through art, through science, which we all know that's available and was available. And there's nothing new under the sun. Like the Tartarian age, we saw that they had all these free energy devices. So let's get right into what Spaceman has to say in the view from space. Okay, so Easter Sunday this year is coming up April 5th. Good Friday's on April 3rd, exactly 1 month after the blood moon. Okay, I also get into Terence McKenna, his novelty theory. I always wanted to bring him up. Wonderful man. Okay, and his theory, novelty theory, was even along the lines that in about 2012, because he passed away around 2000, that we would have a singularity event come into effect. And that singularity event was basically what even Elon Musk and all these guys are talking about with the Neuralink and all this stuff. But basically, once we know enough, we all jump in the 100 monkey theory up into and all. But this is more of a spiritual singularity aspect, unlike the digital one that they want us to be into, a false virtual reality, a false astral realm through virtual reality, an understanding of spiritual realms, but they're taking us away from the spiritual and having us look outside of ourselves for it through AR and VR glasses. So his divine understanding, 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, and that's just like the 32 sides of the aspects of the tree of life. Times it by 2, you have the front and the back, you got the 64 I Ching. It's all the same stuff, but the novelty theory is about finding something new in everything you do. Even if it's the same old day, find something new. So with that being said, let's get back into what's happening. Also want to introduce David Wynn Miller. He introduced true understanding of how to live in truth with proper grammar called quantum grammar. He developed it. Even says here, okay, he had a clinical death at the age of 25, followed by a resurrection that raised his IQ to 200 and halted aging. He styled his name with hyphens and colons, asserting it transformed him into a prepositional phrase existing in the now time dimension. The now time dimension. I'm not sure if chat's turned off. I don't know. But welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Not sure if you can say anything. I can't see the chat here, but that's okay. I'm just going to continue on and introduce. And once this goes up, and after, I'm going to only do this for 45 minutes, a little breakfast show. I'll show you my breakfast in a second, what I'm having. Wonderful breakfast. I'd like to help you out and understand the true nutrition will help you understand the truth as well. So David Wynn Miller, check him out. Check out all his lessons he has to show you. And they say he was just a tool and die welder. Okay, but he actually existing in the now time dimension has the novelty theory, finding something new. In order to do that, you have to exist in the now, in this moment now. The elites are always caught up with having us look forward to their astrological events without us knowing about it, and they're doing their rituals out there in Argentina, being burnt down in Patagonia by the Mossad agents. Chile had its fires by arsons as well, turned out to be Israeli Mossads. Okay, so they're taking over these parks, lands, and then turning it into residential areas, and they'll buy up the land for pennies on the dollar. It's all going on there. Check it out. It's disgusting. Patagonia is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It's closest to Antarctica. So now with this eclipse going on, can it be something that's going to happen with the crypto market or with the stock market or with both? But Spaceman always has timeless messages. So let's hear what he has to say, continuing on from yesterday's 2017 11/11 show where I was doing it. So you can see that on the other next. You can check that out in the last live. And we'll go right into it now.
It's like civil violence, rioting.
Started a couple seconds earlier.
To keep what they've already got. Total enslavement of all of us.
There you go. That's the Spaceman.
To create chaos. You talking bond markets, the surge of earthquake activity, volcanic activity, financial chaos in foreign currency markets, geopolitical crises over nuke weapons in Iran and North Korea. Right now, I just named a few. SPACEMAN AVFS, top rated on AM 640. Please direct your emails to spaceman@640toronto.com or...
So I'm just going to show you what I'm having for breakfast here. Beautiful eggs, tomatoes, mushrooms, goat cheese on spelt toast, and soft fried egg, soft yolk for the wonderful yolk in your intestines. Keeps any virus from uploading. Check it out in a PubMed article. With some wonderful organic coffee from Tanzania. So let's get back into the Spaceman.
Space at 640toronto.com. You got some information you want to pass along?
Remember, that's an old email. He passed away 2018.
Just like to refute my view. Or just like to say where in the world you're listening to AVFS and Talk Radio AM 640 from. Please feel free, and thank you so much for the one you've sent. So the Illuminati, as I've
used to be on 680, 640.
Working all angles now of the human experience.
Exposing the truth.
Chaos in order to bring about a new world order. A new order. Their motto, again, is order out of chaos. The strategy is to create chaos. By creating and controlling chaos, they can manipulate you into a conclusion that serves their ultimate goal. Oh, just what is that goal again? Oh, that's to bring about total enslavement of all of us and deliver an enslaved planet to their god, Satan, Lucifer and his flesh incarnate, the Antichrist that's coming, and his satanic one-world government. How do they create these points of chaos? By slowly inserting over what are sometimes long periods of time and developing their own agents. There's another one. Who are these agents? The agents that are human, who will serve the occult world of Satan's forces out of greed, and maybe out of lust for power, or just to keep what they've already got, even if they don't believe in the actual purpose. They believe that Lucifer's forces are supreme. The master plan is calling for the slow development of placing their agents into the Christian church as well as the entire global educational systems, politics, leadership positions. Their people control the monetary systems now. They control the military. They control the money, the government, the monetary systems, and the military. You control everything. You control the religious community. You control the media, the education system. You have the ability to control most of the entire world's population. But that's not Lucifer's final goal. He's not only wanting to control humanity, but also to worship him as the God of the universe, not the true God. The entire series of manipulations throughout history has been to bring about total worship, planet-wide worship, since the flood. Lucifer's come close to achieving that many times, but never completely. You see, he needs to manipulate events in such a way that the final result will be in his triumphant arrival through the Antichrist whom he possesses, who will end all of the chaos under such dire circumstances that every human being will be so grateful that will choose to worship him and obey him only because he saved them. So expect more of the same. Like cultural and religious and ethnic civil violence rioting, this will be the form of race riots. See them in America. See them in Germany. See them everywhere. Protests like the Muslim hate for the Western world. The Western world's hate for the Muslim. This is just going to give us, of course, the Illuminati more reason for more terrorist attacks to move even farther down the road. Then retaliatory attacks from both sides, and we can get the big one going. So they haven't played this card for a while, but they will. Don't worry, it'll be back. Exotic diseases that might engulf and overwhelm society is getting a lot of major media exposure in the Illuminati-controlled mass media to psychologically prepare you with fear that such diseases could become so bad that it would destabilize society, leading to anarchy and the need for more authoritarian control by governments for the general welfare and safety of all citizens. In other words, you need dictatorship. You need a fascist leader in order to be safe from dying a horrible death from exotic diseases, which in reality were the designer-engineered ones in the scientific laboratories to be that for which the public will never know or ever realize. Again, the bottom line goal is the general public to want, if not demand, authoritarian, totalitarian government controls over them. Then there's what I believe the wealth of entire nations, in such a way as to remove wealth from the general populace. And let me just decipher that one for you. They call it the disappearing middle class these days. The general populace, bankrupt the general population, and cards swiping, your phone can sink you into such debt you'll never recover. Such developments pave the way for the public to beg to be taken care of in authoritarian governmental management systems. Oh, we've lost all our money, help us. Collapsing stock markets, banking systems, real estate markets, manufacturing, retail businesses under attack, creating high levels of unemployment. Possibly even starvation, which will lead to desperation by the public and a plea for governmental rescue. At the moment, the world's economy is teetering on the brink of collapse due to a wobbly global stock market situation. Oh, sure, they tell you there's growth here and there, but you know what? The money's cheap. 0% interest. In some places, 1% or 2%. Cheap money, and only given to the ones that don't need it. Global currency markets are very unstable because the countries are in debt. So the money's not worth much. This kind of instability is what leads to collapse sooner or later. Cryptocurrency Bitcoin, almost 70, over $7,000 US for $1 American dollar. One Bitcoin is worth a little over $7,000. The chaos is inherent in the.
You hear that?
One Bitcoin is worth a little over $7,000. Some dollars.
Listen to what he has to say about Bitcoin.
Cryptocurrency Bitcoin.
2017.
70, over $7,000 US for $1 American. One Bitcoin is worth a little over $7,000. The chaos is inherent in the entanglements of different nations like Russia and China trying to conduct significant trade. China wants Iran's oil, you know. Iran wants to sell China oil in exchange for military benefits, of course. Russia wants cash for technology and weapons. Then there's Iran's alliance with Pakistan, who is in its own ethnic struggle against India. On the back burner, Taiwan, and the Chinese wanting to annex it. Iran also puts his fingers into the Palestinian cause against Israel. That's been headlining.
Continuously timeless words. Whether he talks about Iran, Palestine, Israel, crypto. It's like we're going around and around. Nothing new under the sun.
This week, very hot. The headline was that Prince Salman is stepping up the war in Yemen, the proxy war that's being fought against Hezbollah, who are really Iran or funded by them. And I've mentioned this before, the various individuals warning us, the world, that new secret technologies have been developed by nations and criminal elements which can alter and actually create destructive weather systems, such as super hurricanes that we've seen this summer, tornadoes, blizzards, through what's called scalar physics technology.
Tom.
The same technology can be used to trigger geological activity like earthquakes, the one in Mexico.
Tom Bearden, Scalar Technology, check it out.
Recently, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis even. Scalar physics can also be used to create strange illusions in the sky when combined with other secret technologies, chemtrails. They can be used to create phony religious experiences. To take it even a step further, like the voice of God speaking directly to people en masse. That technology actually is available now. Through, of course, the story have you heard about Cuba supposedly ruining the hearing of some American diplomats over there? That's what that technology is. You know, it shouldn't take much imagination to figure out the possible scenarios.
Now let's just take a look at what Purim has to do with holidays. It's a joyous holiday from the deliverance of ancient Persia to annihilate them. But its meaning is connected with massacre. I'll get back to you in a moment.
These capabilities that they can create the kind of destruction, the chaotic situations that they do. So those are the major chaotic wedges in the Illuminati's plans, which is going to be used over and over to further their goal. Hang on, because it's only going to get faster. Now, by far, the most asked question of me in my emails is Donald Trump an Illuminati member? The answer right off the top is yes. People say then, how come he's positioned as being the voice of the poor, the middle class, and champions all average people's beliefs. It's simple. It's Satan versus Satan. And the winner, Donald Trump in this case, parades around as the savior. When you have evil fighting evil, and evil wins, calling itself the savior. They're using Donald Trump as the man who will appear to do the will of the people, not the special interest groups anymore, the way it was. But he's going to be showing not to be able to do it and fail, showing you that you cannot be a person who will close his borders, have everything pointing his way. He's the wolf in the hen house dressed up as a chicken. It's a Spaceman's Talk Radio, AM 640 mornings. I'm the guy that calls Spaceman's Talk Radio, AM 640 Toronto. Because it is imperative. I mean, you have to grasp this at the top of what I'm about to get into here with you. In order for you to completely understand what I'm going to present to you, you have to know simply the definition of really just two words. The two words are crypto and Judaizer. The first word is crypto, as it pertains to crypto jewelry.
So we got our beautiful crypto back in his mind.
Definition of crypto is just this, in case you didn't know or you have to check. I'll check for you. It's a person who adheres or belongs secretly, keyword, to a party, to a sect, or other group, someone who belongs to a secret society. That's all crypto. The other word you must know the exact meaning of to fully understand this concept is Judaizer. The word Judaizer has a Christian origin. It's taken from the Greek verb iudaizo, meaning live according to Jewish customs. This word is most widely known from the single use in the New Testament, Galatians 2, verse 14, where Paul publicly challenges Peter for compelling Gentile believers to Judaize. This event is also known as the incident at Antioch to knowledgeable Christians. According to the concise Oxford Dictionary of World Religions, this word includes groups like Jewish Christians, Copto-Disseminants, Ethiopian Christians, descendants of English Puritanism, like the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
This is right out of...
claim the necessity of obedience to the Mosaic laws, which are found in the first 5 books of the Christian Old Testament. Through this is something likely disputed by members belonging to these groups, especially by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, also known as the Mormons. To them, the word Judaizers is a negative, a very bad thing. By the way, in America, the Republican Party actually had a Mormon running for the leadership of the party to be the president of the United States. His name was Mitt Romney, named after the hotel magnate J. Willard Marriott, his father's best friend. Yeah, the Marriott Hotel chain is owned by the Mormons. They also own Bain Capital, which owns Canada Goose clothing apparel. Oh, and many others. Staples. It's the elite, rich, and powerful who create religions, these people. They've always been in power. 1952, Mitt Romney's father, a former governor of Michigan, was CEO of American Motors, and his father's cousin, Milton Mitt Romney, was quarterback of Chicago Bears from 25 to 29, 1925 to 29. The founder of the Mormon religion was Joseph Smith. I referred to him earlier in the show. And his inner circle of family members, they were all polygamists. They all married one another. They're sun worshippers. This is an original family of Cain's idea, by the way, polygamy. Lamech, as a matter of fact, was the very first ever polygamist on the earth. He's the sixth generation descendant of Cain. Genesis 4, verse 18, you'll find it there. His father was named Methuselah, and he was responsible for the Song of the Sword. He's also the first polygamist to take two wives. Third, their names were Ada and Selah. Tubal Cain is one of the sons. The Song of the Sword, by the way, is an ancient story, and at the last part of the tale of Lamech in Genesis 4, verses 23 through 24, takes the form of a brief poem which actually refers to the curse of Cain. In the poem, Lamech's stance resembles that of a supreme warrior, able to avenge himself absolutely. But no explanation of who Lamech supposedly killed is ever given. Some biblical researchers have proposed that it's connected to the invention of the sword, the world's very first weapon, made of steel, not wood. Since his son Tubal Cain was the first blacksmith, which is, of course, the science of melting rock, extract metal, pound it while it's hot, cool it, and you have this weapon called the sword. That's the reason the poem is often referred to as the Song of the Sword. I just told you about one up at the very top of the show, the XS-1, made by Boeing, going into production very shortly. That is an unmanned aircraft that can lift up 3,000 pounds and more into near-Earth orbit without the use of a rocket lifting it off from Earth, and lands just like an airplane. The XS-1. Also the F-18s, the F-35, the guided missiles, the weapons of mass destruction, as they're all called today, all belong to the family bloodline of Cain. This bloodline's father, who is Satan, has the same plan as he has had since the earliest of times, and that is to exact revenge on the true God by destroying all of the true God's creation. That includes you, me, and this very earth. Why do you think he's polluting it for so long with his corporate poisons and blaming it on you? You didn't invent plastic bags. You didn't pump all the oil out and get everybody hooked on it. He now has the weapons to bring into the world a nuclear conflagration. This bloodline has successfully obscured the truth by hiding it in religions that have mixed inextricably with what they call mythology, which is really their lies about their father and God Lucifer. They are now in the process of pitting those major religions against one another, called the Global War on Terrorism, which will morph into the Third World War. This coming global conflict will be used to force the world's population into accepting their final kingdom here on Earth. The great work will be finished. It'll be run by Satan himself, who possesses a willful king, which will be the culmination of thousands of years of work toward this goal, which is the one world global empire under one king with only one religion. The other religions twisted, contorted, proven to be, and will no longer be needed. So, let's see today how they've taken the religions and altered them. This current ruling empire we live under is called the American Empire. It's the economic engine of the world, still, by most part, the policeman of the world, but not for long. This one is about to crash to allow the new one to arise. It's the story of the myth of the phoenix. They're acting out. The scarlet and golden phoenix bird is synonymous with rebirth and recovery, especially after calamity. Originally from the traditions of ancient Phoenicia, the original homeland of the tribe of Cain, the phoenix has a counterpart in many other cultures. The phoenix is said to have an entrancing song. In other words, it's convincing when you listen to it, captivating enough to make you even the sun stop and listen. So if the phoenix is injured, it can heal itself. It enjoys a lifespan of about 500 to more than 1,000 years, just like the empires that they represent and are built by the elites. They consider the phoenix to be a lonely creature that cannot reproduce. And it is one of its kind only. So just as with empires in the world, become the only one alive at a given time. When the phoenix reaches the end of its lifespan, it's set to build itself a nest of aromatic spices, and then sets the nest in itself on fire and is burned to ashes. Do you think this is not going to be repeated here for the American Empire? It will. Shortly, the phoenix will though rise again and begin its life anew. Out of the ashes rises the new empire, and in some traditions, the new phoenix gathers up the ashes of the old and takes them to Heliopolis to offer them to the sun god. There's sun worshippers that are leading the world today. The American Empire was set up by Cain's descendants. After the Second World War, it's really the lion's whelp. The lion, of course, represents the line of Judah. Jacob assembles his sons before his death and speaks to them in a combination of blessings, curses, warnings, psychological assessments, parables, recollection of hope. He speaks to each son separately, too, in poetic language that certain scholars associate with the ancient tribal songs and memories. Yeah, when I return, Talk Radio AM 640 on Space. It's the Spaceman at AVFS. Talk Radio AM 640. Emails to spaceman at 640toronto.com or space. As I said before, the American Empire, the British Empire before that, all set up by Cain's descendants. The Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the ancient Egyptian Empire, and the Babylonian, same bloodline. So America was set up by the lion's whelp. It's really the lion's whelp. Represents the line of Judah. Jacob assembles his sons before his death and speaks to them. And a combination of blessings and curses is said before the break. Judah's first, the fourth son of Leah, described by these famous words. Judah is a lion's whelp. On prey, my son, have you grown? He crouches, lies down like a lion, like the king.
So why is the phoenix so prevalent in their desire to put in our mind's eye? The Phoenicians, maybe. That's why. Who were referred to as the Canaanites. Not those who called themselves Israel, even though they're in the area. They were the Canaanites.
Beasts, who dare rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet. The celebrated metaphor of Judah is a lion's whelp, meaning young offspring, of course, is one of strength, one of daring. The Lion of Judah has become a favorite motif, as a matter of fact, in Jewish art and folklore. It's acquired messianic associations.
Can everyone hear when Spaceman talks from the computer or the TV?
Yeah, I mean, Messiah. The symbol of the Lion of Judah is a lion with a crown on its head. Tell me where you've seen that before, recall that before. Why, it's the symbol of the family that now resides in Buckingham Palace, who's also claimed to be the descendant of the house of David, from which...
Welcome into A View from Space with Spaceman. He was a wonderful man on 640 AM and a couple other channels AM. He passed away in June 2018. And he put out this wonderful show on Saturday nights that told the truth. And it seemed to be right after he told about the crypto Judaizers, he was basically out of a show and then no longer with us.
Which King James Version of the Bible states the King of Kings to come must be from the house of David. They are in fact impostors and are of the tribe of Dan, who is the family of Cain. But through their trickery and black magic will be known to be able to trace their lineage back to the house of David. Through the Merovingian bloodline of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene having children, becoming the crown heads, all the crown head families of Yahud. That's why the Da Vinci Code and Dan Brown is so important in these latter times. That's the blueprint. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses blesses his people before his death. In the tradition and the spirit of Jacob's prophetic prayer, in Deuteronomy, that lion-like strength and prowess are applied to Gad and Dan, not to Judah. And of Gad, Moses said, "Blessed be he who enlarges Gad. Poised is he, like a lion to tear off arm and scalp." And of Dan, he said, "Dan is the lion's whelp that leaps forth."
And I forgot to say welcome in LA 888 and Vizlados, or Kayla, I should just say. Wonderful videos with the dogs. Love them. And I love your music.
Dan, in fact, is compared to the same lion's whelp used to describe the powerful tribe of Judah in Genesis. Now more imposters. Here come the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Claims Mormons are descended from the tribe of Ephraim. This religion, an ancient one, began anew in America, where you could go to make up your own religion if you wanted, when America was founded. That's how they populated it. You don't like the religion you're at? Go over there, start another one. You can make yourself a god. It was in New York State where Joseph Smith, the founder of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, moved his flock of followers to Pennsylvania, into Ohio, and Missouri, and eventually Illinois. When the Mormons were kicked out of Missouri, they settled in Illinois. It was there in 1844. Joe Smith announced that summer, after a newspaper criticized Smith's practice of polygamy, the Nauvoo, Illinois City Council ordered the paper closed. During the fight that ensued, Smith first declared martial law and then surrendered to the governor of Illinois. Although the governor promised his safety, Smith was murdered while he was in jail awaiting his trial to start in Carthage, Illinois. Mitt Romney's great-great-grandfather was none other than Parley P. Pratt. Parley P. Pratt was one of the first leaders of the Church of the Latter-day Saints in the early 19th century and originally a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Because all Mormons are In that day, Parley Pratt was a practicing polygamist, had 12 wives. One of his greatest great-great-grandsons, as I've already said, is Mitt Romney. Interesting, too, here. The Book of Mormon claims that Jesus appeared as the god Quetzalcoatl in South America, the New World. But history states the Catholic Church's conquistadors tried to obliterate all signs of the truth of Jesus Quetzalcoatl in the New World by burning the codices, the written word. But we're told they didn't destroy them all. Mitt Romney, isn't the only member of the Merovingian bloodline that's made a bid to become the president of the United States, Every single president they've ever had is part of the Merovingian bloodline. Because you see, you're really not elected president of the United States. You're born to be. So if Judaizers play a major role in the formation and establishment of the Roman Catholic Church, is it possible that Roman Catholicism was a Jewish Kabbalist project from the beginning? There is, in fact, a long, fascinating history of Jewish infiltration of the Roman Catholic Church, which has been, nonetheless, and by clever design, too, perceived as a Gentile institution. If Roman Catholicism was a project of Kabbalist Jews for the purpose of subverting Christianity, it's conceivable then that Judaized church has functioned for nearly 2,000 years as a covert branch of Kabbalism. Sun worship, black magic, Enoch, Judaism, whose handlers gradually and imperceptibly twisted and contorted Western Christianity to what we have today, with the many different watered-down and changed Bibles that have been printed, and was possible during the vigilant period of the early church, when only priests, if you'll recall way back when in history, were ever allowed to read the Word of God. Yes, it's totally obvious that Jesus married Magdalene, and that lie is a deception of enormous magnitude for Merovingian claims to divinity, pointing to lineage from another source altogether. But that's what they're going to do, and DNA is going to be used in proving this fact. According to a Hebrew source for navigating the Bible, the sons of God were the Titans, the Nephilim in Hebrew, literally meaning fallen ones. They were called this because they were the sons of fallen angels. This demonic ancestry of the Merovingians is explicitly stated on Dagobert's Revenge in Edouard de Ligonnier's essay called The Biological Basis of Elitism and Divine Right to Rule. It's the all-important element of this whole game the elite are playing on us. This divine right to rule that comes from supposedly God or the gods, or who really were these gods? Authors like Zechariah Sitchin, late Sir Lawrence Gardner, Nicholas de Vere, were authoritatively convinced that kingship was created by an advanced race of beings called the Anunnaki, or the Nephilim, as I was referring to them in the earlier part of the show in the Old Testament. These were the ones who created the human race, interbred with them, and created this kingly caste, which were half man, half gods, these celestial creatures that have been variously identified with dragons, elves, fairies, gnomes, leprechauns, sprites, nymphs, pixies, angels even, demons, devils, witches, giants, vampires, werewolves, all of those things. And just about every mythical being you can imagine. Some like Gardner and Sitchin actually claim they come from another planet. Others like DeVere say that they're multi-dimensional or that they're from the hollow earth. According to the Book of Enoch, the Kabbalah is the prophet, translated by Richard Lawrence, and the Nephilim are described as descending from Mount Hermon. And as recounted in the Dead Scrolls, in the days of Jared, 200 watchers descended on Ardis, the summit of Mount Hermon. Demons, a mythological location equated with the triple peak of Jebel Sheikh. That's about 9,200 feet, hidden in a mountain placed in the most northerly region of ancient Palestine.
So you see, the Nephilim came down and made with daughters of men and made men of renown, and they were considered half-breeds. Look at this, as they're doing experiments. In Japan, they allowed it. They just started to allow it beyond the 14 days. Okay, they're doing experiments with human-animal hybrid embryos to term, following a major policy shift in March 2019. The Japanese Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, MEX, lifted previous restrictions that banned the development of such embryos beyond 14 days and prohibited their transplantation into surrogate animals. What are we going to get into, like Hanuman and stuff like that, like in the Hindu god of the monkey god and stuff? We're going to get half pig. Where did the demons get put when Christ drove them out? And they said, put us into the swine, and they went into the swine. Pigs have the most amount of parasites and the most amount of maybe negative energy or physical third dimensional energy. It doesn't allow you to grow into true spiritual knowledge. Maybe that's why it's suggested not to be eating. Or is it because pigs are also already genetically modified by maybe our wonderful ancestors who said, we're tired of being eaten by the giants, we're going to develop pigs which have a similarity with human flesh, and they gave those to be sacrificed to the giants instead of humans. That's another story going on. So with that being said, a couple more minutes of Spaceman, and I'm going to tune out and let you guys go about your day. Thanks for tuning in. You can get the first part of 2017 11/11 in the last live. I'm going to go over the next part of it in the next episode, maybe tomorrow morning or this evening.
The Dead Sea Scrolls, by the way, include the earliest version of the Book of Enoch too, which was rejected by the Council of Nicaea, which chose everything that went into your King James Version of the Bible. The scrolls were authored by the monastic Essene community of Qumran. In those days, the Essene would be akin to what we would call the green movement today. You know, all about nature. Believed to be the tribe of Dan, which brought back the pre-flood paganism, which brought back Baal worship to the Canaanites. The location of the Nephilim's descent, Mount Hermon, also called Mount Sion, by the way, is in the territory of Dan, whom I believe that tribe will, the Antichrist, come from. It's formerly the land of the Canaanites in northern Israel, according to the Atlas and biblical lands. Part of that tribe of Dan, unable to secure its inheritance, migrated north then and captured Laish, renaming it Dan. It's a Spaceman. And a view from space on Talk Radio AM 64.
So thanks for tuning in. And that's a wonderful tribute to Gary Bell. Okay, every Saturday night, about 50 weeks out of the year, he put out his show so that we may grow in the knowledge and wisdom of truth and true history. So I honor him big time, and I have here to show you up to 2017, but as you see here, No, 2018. I have his last episodes and some of the reason why he got cut off for a couple weeks, and that's because he went into the word crypto, Judaizer in the last, like he did in this episode. So with that being said, we all know who's controlling crypto. And that being said, Spaceman 2.0 here as a tribute show live for the Spaceman. It's a wonderful way to get it out. I don't have to have all this memory on my phone. I just learned how to do these lives. If you have any questions, anyone wants to know anything, thanks for tuning in, Mr. Kowalski. Anyone wants to know anything or me to focus on any particular subject or uncover any particular detail to any particular aspect, just let me know the question down below or in any of the comments after I post this. Thanks for all my subscribers and to all the listeners, even if it's just a few right now. At least I'm getting the Spaceman's Gary Bell out there and how his timeless words have to do with pretty much every day. The same thing is going on with these elites. Just look how in Japan they're going to first start using crypto, and in Japan is the first one to start making chimeras. Okay, animal-human hybrids. And please watch out, everyone. For March 3rd, we're having a blood moon. Starts at 3:44 a.m. Okay. Remember, Christ said stay awake, and everyone fell asleep, and they brought him to all his judgments at around that time. So that's a blood moon eclipse happening on, and it hasn't happened on Purim since 34 AD, March 23rd, according to the researchers. I haven't done it myself, but I'm taking their word for it. On February 17th, yesterday, was a solar annular eclipse only seen from Antarctica. We all know about Antarctica. Could be a wonderful ring around us. Toroidal fields keep the sun and the moon. The moon's a plasma map of the Earth. And even back in the 60s, they put out an actual globe of the moon. I'll show you right now. So Rand McNeely, let's see here, trying to tune in. Rand McNeely globe model of the moon with the dark spots and the light spots, which is supposed to be an actual representation of the land masses, and the light spots is the water reflection of the Earth. It doesn't show up too well in the light. Okay, I'm going to get going. I'm going to try to upload this before an hour, because I think after an hour it takes like a whole heck of a long time for it to upload. So thanks again for tuning in, Spaceman 2.0. Have a great day, and out.